With the advancement of technology, new factors of social transformation began to accumulate which were potent enough to cause social changes and in turn shattered many of the old foundations of family life. The old size of the family and the scope of economic security it could provide have almost vanished. Family is gradually becoming the smallest unit of human association, which is essential for the prime act of procreation. Similarly, large family has become in most cases an economic liability instead of an economical asset. The economic foundation of old family, the scope of social as well as economical security it could provide, have all become things of past. Now, even the husband and wife has to live separately, mostly for economic reasons. Under such circumstances, the old organization and nature of family cannot remain intact. And because family is the unbreakable institution of man, the accelerated speed of social changes has caused the widest cracks in family structure. The reduction of the functions of family, lightening the tasks of the home, shortening of the period of childbearing, an increasing gap between the arrival of successive children have transformed the position of women in the family structure. Change in society. For centuries past, men lived, and in several countries continued to live fully or partly in agrarian social order, developed institutions like economic, social and political in agreement to it. These, to the concerned, were the very props and pillars of the social order and inalienable from it. Industry and technology in the West shook these foundations. It gave such direction to the Western society that they forgot the past, and what has remained of it is flying like the autumn leaves. It's dying. Changes are taking place in the developing societies as well. The impact of expanding technology on social institution is inevitable. The transition, whatever its character, has never been without pain. The Western society has passed through a long course of change to be as we see it today. The one single factor that brought about the social change is the immense use of technology. It has affected, as we shall see in the following discussion, family and society in the manifold manner. Societal changes throughout the world are affecting families. Although exceptions exist, it is possible to identify 5 key societal phenomena in most regions of the world that directly affect families. Increasing urbanization, changes in the labor force, especially the increase in the number of women who work outside the home. New technology, especially television and microcomputers. The growth of knowledge and information and the movement to decentralize responsibility for people's lives, including education, all have implications for human relationships in general and family life in particular. Moreover, the perspective on the family has suffered substantial changes in the second half of the 20th century. To describe these relatively radical changes in the internal structure of the family as a social institution, some sociologists have introduced the term postmodern family. This concept describes the multitude of forms in which the family can occur and the fact that families today exhibit a multiplicity of forms and that new or altered family forms continue to emerge and develop. Some of these forms are single-parent families, cohabitating heterosexual couples, gay and lesbian marriages and families, 3-generation families, communal households, step families, etc. Increasing urbanization. 25 years ago, there were only 150 cities in the world with a population of over 5 lakh. Today, there are approximately 500. The creation of urban conglomerates changed family organization and habits. There is generally less space available for family life than in rural areas. More time is spent in daily travel from home to work, to school and to other places. Increases in population mobility resulted in increased chances of conflict between families. Changes in the labor force. The industrialization process that began 3 centuries ago in Great Britain has influenced all nations. The effects of industrialization on society go beyond the restructuring of the labor force or the vast migrations of people from rural to urban areas. Industrialization resulted in a demand for specialization and the development of technological skills and attitudes. The resulting reorganization of society included changes in people's attitudes, values, and ideologies, with the old overlapping with the new. Technology. New technologies are everywhere influencing people's lifestyles and their interpersonal relationships. In the home, they can free women from domestic chores, allowing them to spend more time with their children. Changes in society may lie in the fact that television sets are more common in better-off homes in developing countries. Many families today tend to meet around the television set and the television programs frequently from important conversational topics. The growth of knowledge and information. One of the positive aspects of recent technological development is the increasing access to vast pools of knowledge by many people, but it is not without its drawbacks. A critical difference between a middle-class family and an isolated peasant family lies in their differential ability to access information and to use it. The new demands for living imply a continuous and selective use of knowledge and the skills to adapt to changing circumstances. Changes in social service role of the family. In agricultural society, family was production and consumption unit. Members of a family worked jointly, remained economically interdependent, and the interest of family remained supreme with every member. Individual was linked in the family and kinship chain. It provided the full chances of socialization to master status. Agricultural society in the Europe and no less elsewhere had no structure for welfare or social security. The family maintained the aged, nursed the sick, buried the dead, and provided for the mentally or physically crippled. The kinship system also had to ensure support for widows and orphans, and also had to provide a place for the occasionally unmarried woman. Given this, one can understand the growth of moral outlook that made kinship a most binding and obligatory relationship, regardless of what personal feeling the members may have had for one another. There is obviously now a change in the family system. In the West, most of the social services that were once performed by family are now performed by the state. Our social structure in general continues to be agriculture extended family based. The nuclear family is not yet the dominant reality. Even where it is significant, family ties have not weakened to make family that nuclear as it is in the West. A Western type nuclear family system, in view of the peculiarity of our culture, may not take shape here. Besides, our policy has yet to take strides even to provide for the primary civic facilities. Directive principles of state policy have much to guide in this direction. After that is realized, then alone the state can be said to have taken over some of the family services. According to Talcott Parsons, the family is losing many of its traditional functions. If the family does not itself, except here and there, engage in much economic production, It is not a significant unit in the political power system. It is not a major direct agency of integration of the larger society. However, Parsons maintains that the family is still very important. Its role in becoming more specialized. Its main contemporary function is the structuring of the personalities of young people and their stabilization as adults. The family is more specialized than before, but not in any general sense less important, because society is dependent more exclusively on it for the performance of certain of its vital functions. According to Dennis, families are also essential to people's inner needs. Marriage has become the only institution in which the individual can expect esteem and love. Adults have no one on whom they have the right to lean for this sort of support at all comparable with their right to lean on their spouse. Young and Wilmot have a similar conclusion. As the disadvantages of the new industrial and impersonal society have become very pronounced, so the family has become more prized for its power to counteract them. This constitutes the thesis that the family is losing most of its functions and specializing in those it retains. However, not everyone agrees. Fletcher in The Family and Marriage in Britain argues that the functions of the family have increased in detail and importance. He agrees that the family's role in socializing the young has been retained. State education has increased the importance of this role rather than diminished it. Likewise, the existence of state health services has increased rather than decreased the role of the family in providing care for its members. Although the family does not function as a unit of production, it does function as a unit of consumption, so its economic role is not diminished overall. Most purchases are made for and on behalf of the family. Young and Wilmot concur when they comment that workers are motivated to work by their desire for consumption of goods. Decline of religion. Now let us examine the impacts that religious affiliation and religiosity have on levels of family functioning. Religious influence on the family has received much attention in the past several years. A variety of studies have been performed to determine different aspects of religious influence on various areas of family life, the relations between the individual and the divine. Family and the church got blackened day after day. Attendance in churches became thinner and thinner. Religion, as a matter of practice in general, ceased to exist. The church, unlike the Catholicism of earlier times, Puritanism of the 17th, 18th century, it had now no significant role to play. The institutional character of family prayer and of such other supporting practices and beliefs are no more in use. It is much less a social force. Previously, family was regarded as the center for the religious training of the children who were born from their parents with various religious virtues. In old family, various religious practices were carried on which made the outlook of the children religious. But nowadays, family does not observe religious practices as before and has become secular in outlook. Family prayers are also obsolete. The rate of church attendance for mothers, fathers and both parents seem to have a small effect on family functioning. In family situations where the mother attended church at least yearly, regardless of the father's rate of attendance, scores were higher than if the mother never attended. Cultural disharmony. In modern industrial Western complex social system, the role of culture in the traditional sense of sweetness and light is limited. The institutions like family, church and the corporate character of society have so changed as to generate cultural disharmony. The complex division of labor and class structure, the rise of nuclear family and dominance of rationalism have contributed to the cultural disharmony. The way of life culture had given to the collectivity and the standard of social ethics that it had set up is now subject of historical interest only. The industrial culture in the West, however, has developed its own privations and set the society on different pedestal. But the industrial culture in USA, the USSR, Western Europe and Eastern Europe is not, however, of the uniform pattern. It has always been influenced by the local conditions. Cultural diversity manifests itself directly in terms of conceiving and organization of family life. For example, in traditional Navajo society in the southwestern United States, the two spouses do not live under the same roof ever. Relations between spouses are most often reduced to encounters with character, intimate or discreet. In the Maasai communities located in Kenya, polyandry is the usual form to regulate relations between spouses. In other words, a married woman may have not only permitted sexual relations with her husband, but also with all the men from similar age group. It is a matter of the norms available in the Maasai society that the husband to have nothing to object when a good friend asks for permission to have sex with his wife. The one who decides ultimately is moreover his wife. In Banaro society from Papua New Guinea, the husband cannot have intimate relations with his wife before she gave birth to a child whose father is a friend of him. The dominance of law. The modern society is dominated by state. Its omnipotence is felt through law at all conceivable points. In modern society, while the function of family have got squeezed with every advance of time and technology, the role of state has increased. One's life at every stage is influenced by law. Sometimes it is coercive and sometimes it is cooperative. It exercises full coercive authority in some fields such as matrimony and succession to property. While in providing services from birth to death, it cooperates. The Western states have taken pain out of birth, misery out of life, and relieved and living after death liabilities. In the interest of the community and for the welfare of individual, the state plays significant and ever increasing role. The omnipotence of the state is a fact and a reality in modern industrial society, democratic or communist. In the underdeveloped societies, state play a limited and a bashful role. Efforts on its part to widen its activity is decried in the name of the state intervention by the small but powerful pressure group from their high house tops. The leadership on its part dilates and is dilatory, threatens and persuades, and for reasons known and unknown balances piecemeal reforms and persuasions. Change in family. Family, which for ages past had remained the production-consumption unit, ceased to be so with the advent of industry, as one had to go away for work to the factory or a mill. Mobility ensured individualism at the cost of kinship relation, better economic standard for individual worker in the factory or mill in place of larger number of family working hands with meager existence, nuclear compact family in place of corporate one. This process was stimulated further by complex division of labor, the characteristic of the industrial economy. It did not hold guarantee that son would step into father's vocation. There arose new avenues, and with it developed greater demand for specialization, hence greater mobility. It had the impact on the family economy and its structure. The role for family in certain respects got minimized. It does not now perform all those comprehensive functions that once were attributed to it. Its activity are now limited to reproduction, maintenance, socialization and placement. In its place, state has undertaken most responsibilities. Now in the industrial West, state looks after the individual from prenatal to post-burial time. Yes, it cannot be said that family is in decline and its extinction is just awaited. It has its importance and role in the new setup too. In the technologically dominated society where everything is mechanical, impersonal and bureaucratic, there is much need for the human touch, love, understanding and identity with one's own, mutuality, closeness and oneness with them. This family alone can provide. Home has not lost the meaning. It still can be the sweet. The changes we are experiencing are extensions of long-standing family patterns. For example, more women have entered the labor force since 1970, but the mother who works outside the home is not a new phenomenon. Mothers sold dairy products and woven goods during colonial times, took in borders around the turn of the 20th century and held industrial jobs during the World War II. Change in economic functions. In the traditional family, most of the goods for consumption were made at home. Thus, members of the family were all engaged in the family industry. It was a unit of production and the center of economic activities. But today, in the modern society, the importance of family as an economic unit has been lessened. The members of the modern family do not work together. They are engaged in different activities outside the home. However, the old pattern has not destroyed, it has been changed. Change in religious functions. Previously, family was regarded as the center for the religious training of the children who were born from their parents with various religious virtues. In old family, various religious practices were carried on which made the outlook of the children religious. But nowadays, family does not observe religious practices as before and has become secular in outlook. Family prayers are also obsolete. Change in the educational functions. In old days, the family acted as an important educational agency where the child was born. The child learnt the first letters under the guidance of parents. But today, the child learns in a kindergarten. The modern families have delegated the task of vocational education to technical institutes and colleges. Change in recreational functions. The old family provided recreation to its members. They used to sing, dance and visit the family relations. Nowadays, families do not provide recreation to its members. The members seek entertainment outside their families. Change in function relating to health. The functions relating to health which were performed in the old family have now been transferred to hospitals and clinics. The child is born today not at home but in the hospital. Instead, the house where I was born, the phase, the hospital where I was born is more relevant to modern conditions. Change in the function of socialization. Today, many agencies help family in the process of socialization such as hospital, kindergarten, schools, etc. Nowadays, women go to work leaving their children at the creches where educated women take care of them. Thus, from the discussion, we are clear that almost all the functions of family which were found previously have not been destroyed but changed to a great extent. Overview of modern Indian family culture. Indian family structure is known for joint family system. Entire world admires Indians for being united and happy with their relatives. Before going to know about modern Indian family relations, we take brief introduction of ancient Indian relationships. Early age. In the 18th, 19th and 20th centuries, people used to live together with their families. All extended family members live together and celebrate festivals, achievements. They also support each other in their gloom period. They are very happy with their relatives and relations. Every family member lives together in happy as well as sad moments. So they were not only strong in relations but also rich in ideas. Their view of understanding world was significant. Each member of family was responsible towards the family. Men have responsibility to support family financially, whereas women have responsibility to take care of their children and elder people. Aged people have responsibility to teach good beliefs to kids through their behavior. At that period, romance between husband and wife was limited in bedroom. They were not allowed to expose their love in front of whole family. Generally, older male person was head of the family. He was making all important decisions and rules in the house. In the 21st century, modern Indian families are tending to follow Western culture. Due to increase in urbanization and population, competition among people has increased. People started staying away from family for jobs, etc. Then, idea of small family like hum do hamare do, we two people with our two kids came into picture. Concept of live-in relationship and love marriages has affected original Indian family system. The main advantage of small family is privacy between husband and wife. Other side of the coin is that grown children start behaving their parents like burden over them. Children born in small families have observed with more cruel behavior. So what's the solution? Simple solution to this problem is that parents should spend time with their children. Sometimes people miss happiness in their life due to small family. I think people should come together and share good thoughts with their kids so that their kid must be confident, ambitious and ready to take on the world. Families are transforming, not destroying themselves. There have been changes in family structures, but families of all kinds seek caring, supportive, comforting and enduring relationships. There's nothing inherently better about the type of family from one another. Moreover, family structures don't appear by themselves. People create families that meet their needs for love and security. Greatly expanded choices in family structure and function means that the definition of family no longer reflects the interests of any one social class, gender or ethnic group. This fluidity generates new questions. How? For example, can parents increase their family time if they experience day-to-day pressures on the job? Who will provide adequate child care when parents are employed? Is it possible to pursue personal happiness without sacrificing obligations to other family members? Our choices often are limited by constraints, especially at the macro level, because of economic conditions and government policies. To deal with changes, choices and constraints, we need as much information as possible about the family.